Waiting for the cue. That's the one. Welcome everyone to Blender Today Live 44. It's me, Pablo, and I'm here with another week of updates, news, fixes, improvements, performance updates even. From Grease Pencil, the video sequence editor, yes, the sequencer, and the NLA, the nonlinear animation editor, that it gets so little attention. Well, now I got some, and it's actually useful right now with this improvement. Among other things, there's so much to see, so let's get to it right away. It's like every week the developers get together on IRC online on Monday, and then they publish the what's new. So how do you get to this page? Well, you can go to code.blender.org, the official code blog, and you can see not only the latest videos but also the meeting notes, all nicely here listed by week. If you click on it, you'll get to here, and I'm just gonna read now for the time being, but then I'm gonna show in Blender what's new. So it's like, otherwise you just give you the link and that's it. The fixes is here. It says here about 80 bug fixes, but it's been more than a week since then, so it's nearly 100 fixes. Not bad. The optimizations, for example, are happening when you're loading blend files, especially the production blend files. What does it mean? It's they're blend files that have like tons of linking going on, or like, yeah, we're referencing hundreds of files. Well, those files are now up to between 10 and 25% faster to load. Just like that. There's no downsides likely on like smaller files if you're not doing any linking, but this optimization is mainly focused on that when you have lots of loading. So pretty nice update right there. But there's also improvements on Eevee and normal calculation, but I haven't seen a comparison of images yet, so I can't say yet. What I can say though is that the sequencer is getting some love. Yes, awesome. The video sequence editor is getting attention. There has been a discussion going on in the forums about the fact that Blender, for encoding videos, it uses FFmpeg, something that it encodes the video basically. And until now, it was hard-coded to one thread. So it would only use one thread, and then it would just wait for it. So you would probably see when you're encoding, you will see that if you have a multi-core computer, you will see that only one was doing all the job, all the heavy lifting, while the other ones were sleeping. So now it's just automatic. It will pick as many cores as you have, and as many threads as you have, sorry. But it's still limited by Blender itself. So by itself, like, this improvement is amazing. It gives up to a 20% speed up, which is pretty nice because it was just basically a one line of 2 lines of code. But it's still limited by Blender itself. So it means that there is a big room for improvements here. Like, once the rest of Blender's video sequence editor gets multi-threaded, then it means that we're gonna get this much faster. So yes, up to 20% speed up. Just, it depends on how many cores, of course, you have, but yeah, it's just pretty good news, and with room for improvement. So yay. And related to that, it's that there is a hero among us. Richard Antalik. It's a developer that has been around for a while, and he's been in touch with the Blender video sequencer editor community, and he sent an email to the mailing list saying that there's many patches for the sequencer going on, and he wanted to maintain his own branch. And there's so many patches. So patches are just little pieces of code that sometimes not so little pieces of code made by anyone, but it's mainly like the Blender community is just wanting to contribute with small fixing small parts in Blender or anywhere. The ones related to the sequencer are so many that he wanted to put them in a branch and just maintain that. But what if would be just easier to just make a review, code review, which takes more time, and just instead of just bringing the code in and that's it, what if you will give feedback to the other developers and just do a review together, like, okay, you should maybe change this and that and that, and then test the feature with the amazing community that we have around the Blender sequencer now that is growing so much, and just make it part of the official Blender. Isn't that brilliant? So he's now committed to do this and to commit stuff. He now has commit rights, so he can actually contribute code to the official Blender branches, like 2.8 or master. So he's already working on the cache and proxy management to make Blender video sequencer real time. That's one of the goals. And then making compiler like just regular optimizations and universal image processing library, which I guess it means to use the same as the rest of Blender, but I'm not completely sure on that. The one that I really like though, it's he would like to create cleaner and simpler code for the basic underlying functionality. What does it mean? It means that the 20-year-old code is about to get cleaned up, and that's why I mean it's a hero. So yes, not all heroes wear capes, unless you wear a cape and it's cool, but I want a picture of that. There's also a patch going on around the Blender sequencer editor is the font selection editor. So you can actually select fonts and text strip. So it's a good one. But yeah, that's real time. This will be like a dream come true, and also creating simpler code that is also a dream come true. So great news. Maintenance for the sequencer coming up next. Then yeah, another small ones about the NLA. That's not so small actually, because the NLA for years has been a it's there, but it's not there, because there was something very basic that was failing. That was basically adding keyframes when you're mixing many actions together. Then, do you know what the NLA is at all? Do you know? Have you ever used it? Okay, here goes a 1-minute introduction to the NLA. So say I have this cube. I add a keyframe here. Then I'm going to go to another 20 frames. And I move it horizontally for like 5 units, and I have this action here, right? It's so confusing to use the right-click select, but there are improvements here for this editor, by the way. So yeah, let's go to the action editor. Actually, I haven't there. So for example, I have this action. It's moving horizontally. Let's horizontal. Name it to horizontal, and I'm gonna stash this so it shows up in the NLA, but it's not contributing to the final part of the animation. So now I press stash. Now it's gone. My cube stays there. I'm gonna delete it, delete the position, and I'm gonna add another animation. So I'm gonna insert the location. I'm gonna go to around the same, and instead of moving it horizontally, I'm gonna move it up around 5 units again. Insert another location keyframe. So now I have 2 actions. One that I just had it horizontally, and now I have this one that I move up vertically. So I'm gonna name it vertical, and I'm gonna stash it. So it means again that it's gonna put it in the NLA, in the nonlinear animation editor, and it's going to remove it from here. You can do that manually too. You just need to just basically remove the action from here. Just press the X, and then you add it manually to the NLA, but stash is easier. So so now I don't see anything. Basically the animation is gone because they're stashed in the NLA, and the NLA, if we go there, has them both stashed but not active. They're not enabled. So if I enable the horizontal one, yay, the horizontal action. Then if I enable the vertical one, yay, vertical. But they are, one is on top of each other. So with this, you can just select the strip that you want. And in the active strip panel right here, you can change the blending, for example, to add. And now, ta-da, it moves in both horizontally, like because of this strip, and then vertically, but since it has add, it goes diagonally. Amazing. Did anybody say animation layers? Well, this is kind of getting there. Anyway, before this fix, you couldn't add keyframes in like if you would add keyframes, but it wouldn't work correctly when it was in other modes other than replace. So replace, when you basically stack one on top of each other and they ignore the ones at the bottom, that would work. But yeah, that's not what's the point, right? Because if you can blend them, the whole point of the NLA is that you can blend the layers or strips or actions. So yeah, that's a very nice improvement. It's making the NLA actually useful. So thank you for people reporting and for the Alexander, the developer that fixed it. A new developer, by the way, new in the sense that he's contributing so much to Blender, but it's just doing amazing things in such a short time. It's awesome. Yeah, the preferences. Yeah, this is a smaller one, I guess. If you're unhappy with the headers being always on the top, you can now make it an option that for new editors that you open or you create, is gonna you can choose where to put the header. So there's that. I still like the ones on the top. I just got not only used to them, but when you enable and disable settings, the menus grow downwards. So if you see, like when you change settings, they grow downwards. Whereas if you put them down, it just doesn't feel the same because you end up with an empty menu. And if actually before it used to just go down, but then it will mean that you jump around. So I just like it on top. Another UI little thingy that was changed recently was that the plus little button thingy that was on either the header or in the end panel or in the toolbar, the sidebars, it's now an arrow actually. So I don't know if you get to see it right there, but it's an arrow now. Maybe I need to make this slightly bigger, all the way up. So now you see it's a little arrow. It's not so big either, so it doesn't overlap with the widget, and it's just easier to spot. And actually, it's a plus would be weird. It's like you're adding something, but now an arrow, it just makes kind of more sense. So that's nice. That's nice to see. Let's skip reading the news. That's about it. Let's jump into the grease pencil. Oh, okay, another one. Mantaflow, it's getting reviewed. So yes, good news. What does it mean, review? It means that it's now at a stage where the developers are just going through the code and then giving feedback, and it's just the process of putting it up to date with the rest of Blender. But after that, it's just a matter of merging it with Blender, with the main branch. So let's get grease pencil here. I will basically first show a video because that shows it all. There is this new video published some days ago already on the on the Blender developers YouTube channel. So it's basically an improvement on not only the new tool, the curve tool, where you can create a curve, just change the snapping points on the on sort of like a Bezier basically, but it's not creating a Bezier. It's a tool. So you draw, you pull the points, and then you make your shape. This improvement is huge because not only about this new tool, but also an improvement to existing primitive tools. So when you create a square or a circle or a line, you can also access these manipulators. So it's like Gizmo. And the thickness can also be controlled, so that's pretty nice. Let's see it in action, because I happen to have the software right here. I should compile it myself. Okay. To the end, but you can also download it from builder.blender.org or blender.org/experimental for an easier to remember URL. So the tool is basically available when you're in edit mode or draw mode, sorry, of your grease pencil object. So if you go to the animation, you're already in draw mode. Select the curve tool, draw, and then you will see that you have a well, I don't know if you get to see it, but it's a yellow dot on either side. It means the end and the start of the end and the end of the stroke of your curve. Then if you twist it, you will see that it's actually being pulled to the center, because there is a control point here that if you move, bam, you discover there is actually two control points that happen to be in the middle of the widget, of the curve that you just work with. So that's pretty much it. You can do some tricks that also relate to other parts of to other tools of the grease pencil draw mode. It's that you can, with scroll, you can define the you could say the resolution. Here at the bottom it says adjust edge number in the status bar, that you probably don't get to see because I'm in full screen. And here, there you go. And also you don't get to see because of my face. Sorry, I'm gonna remove my face. And here you see it says wheel to adjust edge number, and I think it should just be resolution. Edge number is kind of confusing because it's kind of edges, but yeah, you know what I mean. So the resolution can be adjusted with this, and you can also, it also says shift to square, alt to center, which they are not really available here because I already did the drawing here, the stroke. They are available though if you first press it when you're creating the first stroke. So remember that. And something that I really like actually is sorry, my face is here again. It makes it easier for me to talk to the camera without doing any movements. If I made a line here, I can press E to extrude and then add another line. So you can just continue drawing and then another line, and then you can just draw your shapes very nicely. So it can't, once you did your line, you can't go back and edit it because it's a tool that you apply once basically. It's like it would be nice though, but that's for a completely different approach of how grease pencil works. So it's not something so trivial to do right now in the beta stage of Blender 2.8. So, but for the time being, for like doing inking, this is amazing. For like a cleanup of your animation, this is awesome, and especially because you can also control the thickness like line of your curve, how it starts and how it ends. So let's do it right away. I just gonna escape this. I'm gonna escape the whole. You can also right click to cancel your stroke, and then you can cancel your stroke. That sounds really weird. Anyway, I will enable the custom thickness, and by default it has this kind of shape. Bell shape is basically starts with 0, goes all the way to up, and then 0 again. What does it mean? It means that it's gonna be the thickness is gonna be 0, and it's gonna get thick in the middle, and then gonna go down again. So draw it and you see it. It's pretty simple. Another thing I noticed is that by default the strength is in 0.6, which is nice if you're drawing because it gives you a nice especially if you draw now with a pen, but not with a pen, but it makes it a nice pen feeling, right? But with a curve it's not really very much there. I think the problem is that the tool is just a way of drawing, so I don't know if we could change it, otherwise it would be confusing. But just remember, maybe putting it to 1, and then you can see the exact shape of this stroke that you're drawing. And yeah, you can still change the resolution when you're here. And what I mean when I'm saying it was confusing is that, for example, what you see on here on the status bar, some of the things are available, like the resolution, but not the other tools like Alt, Shift, and yeah, those. Press middle click button to accept. So basically that will be stored. And then you can enter edit mode and see how the vertices look, actually, how the geometry looks. And here is a nice segue to the other nice option that is new here. Okay, let's make it visible again. So this is my my stroke. Basically, I can just change it just like usual. But what happens if my resolution is not enough now? Well, you can, for example, smoothen. So you can subdivide. Just right click on it, subdivide, or press W if you're using the right click select, and then subdivide. Then when you subdivide it, you'll see that it adds to the vision, just like a regular geometry. But you can also smooth it to make it nice, smooth. You add more points, and then you smoothed it, and then you're basically where you were before, and that's pretty nice. So what happens when it's the other way around? For example, when you're when your mesh has like this little boy here, let's go to edit mode. And what happens when you have way too many vertices in something that is actually more simple? Well, you can also remove. This is not a new feature, actually. It was around for a while, but if you select, you also can right click and simplify a few times, and then you will get the similar result. This is very useful when you want to when you're having some issues with performance, because all of these points, they need to be calculated. So if you apply some simplification then over the whole mesh, you will probably save some performance issues if you have any. There's also the cleanup part, which is also very interesting for that, but I'm gonna leave that for a separate tutorial, but not even tutorial, but just a video. So yeah, pretty exciting. Grease pencil stuff, awesome. And this is not only by Antonio, but the one that we always know and love, Antonio Vasquez. Not only by him, but by Charlie Jolie, another developer that it just jumped in and started, and developer / artist that started helping and contributing code to Blender, and is now like helping a lot with these features. So that's amazing. That the fact that, sometimes I just say that, yeah, guys, you should check out the Blender code. You don't need a PhD to contribute code, but it's true, actually. You can just, maybe he has a PhD and I don't know, but what I mean is that you should try and mess with Blender code. It's just not so hard as it looks, and you can make awesome stuff. Of course, he has a background in development, I guess, because the code it looks Chinese to me, and Chinese by I mean is complicated to me as a Latino. That, I think that's pretty much it with the news here. I will go quickly through some of the questions from last week. The last video I made was Blender 2.8 and the difference between 2.8 and 3. What should it be? Because overwhelmingly good feedback. People were I did was a kind of a different approach to what they usually do, the different kind of video. I'm happy people were not hating about that. Let's go to the questions very quick. But actually, thanks to that video, now there is over Blender Today reached the first 1,000 likes in one video, and I'm pretty happy about it, and 500 comments or so insane. Most of them were happy birthday, by the way. Thank you very much. I had a very happy and much more warm birthday because of you guys. Thank you. The questions here, I'm gonna go through the main top ones, because internet's not the best here, and I would like to keep this one short. So Antonio was commenting about the new primitives stuff, which I just shown. So awesome. Thank you everybody for contributing, for helping out. I think the fund Blender timeline, Francis says, should be placed in the front page of blender.org so more people are aware. Yeah, that would be awesome, but I don't know if it's just putting it too much in our face. Now you're getting it when you download Blender, I think, and in the builder, and now I'm making this video, so I think it's putting it too much. So it's, I mean, shouldn't push it, right? Even though it really helps Blender. You've seen in our 100, like nearly 100 bug fixes, not only testing and testing, fixes. And I don't even want to know how many bug reports were reported. I know I closed a few duplicates because people should search before posting bug reports, because some of them are duplicate. So thank you everyone. So nice comments. Ricardo says, is it possible to update the spacebar search first result from play animation to play stop animation? Well, it could be, but then if the animation is running, then it should say play animation to stop animation. Is it worth to modify the simple text result? Well, what do you mean is that what if you do F3, then the first, instead of saying play animation, will be play stop? Well, it's actually the same. You don't need to change the label. The label change would be simple, but it would also help to leave the default key shortcut for spacebar to search. Well, no, because if you have to press search and then press play animation, then it means that you're taking way too long to play an animation. When animators or anybody plays back an animate, press play to play, usually they want to do it responsive, right? They want to click and stop, and then press escape, like play escape, and you know what I mean. It's just getting instant feedback when playing back the animation, so it shouldn't be under another menu. But you can change it from the default settings, from the user preferences. Is there any plan to add smoothing groups? I'm not really completely sure this is left out, but I know there have been some people trying to make it work. It's not so simple, I think. But no, I don't have any news about it. Have you seen the amazing denoise AI accelerated denoising add-on? I have seen some renders on it, but I haven't tested it myself, so I can't really say. I want the UI guys to name move back to graph so that the G shortcut makes sense. That's a small one. You can change it back. And moving it, grabbing, it's like you're grabbing, like I'm grabbing this bottle of water, which I'm gonna drink some now because I'm thirsty. But the it's not like just grabbing and pulling things. It's moving, translating, if you want to. You're using 2.8 for production. Well, you're brave. The Spring team, which, parentheses, there is a production log coming in the Cloud blog, so you should check it out soon. And yeah, they're using it in production too, but you shouldn't, because it's a beta, so you're brave. They always make backups. I would prefer that it rendered in the rendering tab. Yes, I would also like that, I think. It would make more sense. And then you could also tweak things while it's rendering. So, disappointing about OS X. Yeah, I know. Ton is actually getting she just ordered a Dell. He tweeted that he's ordered a PC computer, not a Mac, because he's been using Mac for the last years. And yeah, it's switching to PC, so of course Linux. And yeah, we have a policy at the institute, at Blender Studio, that we use Linux for workstations. And of course, we also get Mac or a Windows PC for testing, for building Blender, and for like running all the regular stuff. But yeah, that's a good news. Then are there any plans for selection improvements in the outliner, something like drag selection or shift select? This would be awesome. These little things would be great. I think they're like, well, they're feature requests, not really paper cuts, but these would be awesome. I wish I don't know if there are any plans. These kind of features, they are it just depends on developers having the time for it. So just nag developers about it. Just keep doing it, and these kind of things happen. You can't put that on a roadmap usually. Quantic says, I like the dedicated render window. However, I could imagine that hitting the render button should just put you in a dedicated workspace automatically. Yes, I think so. I never liked how one of my windows will just turn into the image editor. Actually, I really like that one. Okay, let's continue. Otherwise, love the F12 shortcut. No, I'm not gonna remove it. I'm just, when I ask this thing, it's not that it's not a voting, by the way. It's just a poll. I'm just asking. Sorry about that if it sounds like a voting and then you get disappointed because it doesn't happen. I'm just voting. I'm just asking people here. This is Blender Today. It's not official. It's an independent initiative. So actually really like the cut links option in the node editor. Yes. Might find it unintuitive. Oh. Thank you. Okay, any plans for MantaFlow integrations? Yes, as I mentioned, MantaFlow is under review right now. So, okay, I passed the half an hour. Let's try to make it short. So I'm gonna answer 5 more questions. Sorry about this. It's just that it's not as fun when you're reading them. It's also hard to spot the questions if I don't spend time on it before, but I'm really short on time. I don't know if you care, but it's actually almost 4 a.m. So that's why I look always tired, because I don't know why I always start shooting this so late. It takes me a few hours to set up everything. So anyway, Pablo Hector says, how hard would it be to make an option for drag and snap the 3D cursor? It would make things so much faster and flexible. I don't think it would be really hard. It just needs to be done because it's a new concept for the 3D cursor, but it is maybe a good exercise for new developers. Regarding snapping, by the way, you can also now, there is a new option here where you can limit what the, for example, if you're snapping for movement, you can also, you can limit the snapping to movement, rotation, or scale. So that way you can, yeah, you can just limit it regarding on the part that you want to, on the kind of transform that you want to affect. So that's the one, a little one that I forgot to explain. How about being able to show the material preview button in the background of the editor? Oh no, that would be so slow. Imagine if you would have the like what you mean basically is having the by the way, the shortcut is Shift F3 to go to the node editor, and you can press Shift F3 again and start looping through the editors. You can see here now the shortcuts of each editor, and if you keep pressing the same shortcut, you're gonna go through the sub editors of each one. So what you were saying is that why not having the material preview here on the background? Well, for your information, this little guy over here, this one down here, it's a blend file. It's a separate blend file somewhere out there in the Blender code that it's rendering this little guy. So it's like a render inside a render. So it's not the most efficient thing in the world. And I don't know, like if you're doing Eevee, there is no better preview than the actual viewport. So I wouldn't render this in the shader editor full screen. It's just feels like a waste of resources. Maybe for cycles makes more sense, but still, if you have it like this big, I don't know. It could be done, right? Like it's just a panel. We could put it down here, but I'm not sure about the having it in the background like a backdrop. It can get very slow. That's why. That's all I'm saying. So Yusuf says, "I thank you for asking my question." Well, the problem is now fixed. Yay! I'm trying to quickly skim through them. Thank you for nice comments. Shift F for camera positioning. No, now it's Shift tilde, the navigation. So if you do Shift tilde, you can move around the view. The in the Spanish one is the ñ. If you're is the one with the little curl, basically. So let's go to another one. I think it's the last one. Okay, one more. Okay, it's got links. Make it like edit mode. Maybe that's not too crazy, but yeah, maybe it's cat basically. But I still like the control click is much faster. Any possibility that icons get colored in future versions? Right now, I'm only recognizing material tab in vertical bar. Colored, yes, there is a proposal about having these icons colored, and I would love to see it. Not only, I think maybe not the icons, but there is a proposal that has a tiny little colored bar next to them, depending on their type. So in the preferences, which by the way, there is an update coming for the preferences, for the preference editor, which I'm pretty excited about because should make things a bit cleaner. The icons. So at the bottom of the user interface part of the theme of the preferences editor, you can tweak the color of the icons per context. So modifiers, shading, objects, and object data. So for example, object data could be the bar, the color bar for the actual object, in this case the mesh. And then you could have the shading for the material and modifiers in blue, so that would be easier to spot. There is a mockup. There is no patch, I believe, for that. So if you're a developer willing to have a look into that, everybody would be very happy, because you can see people are wanting to do that. I don't have the skills to do that, unfortunately, but yes, I wish the quick menu could be in the preferences, that you can have multiple of them. Yeah, I would. Yeah, that would be awesome. Okay, and the last one. I have a question outside the scope. How hard would you think it's for an outside team to implement CAD modeling in Blender? Well, I don't think it would be completely crazy, an outside team to implement parametric modeling, because it sounds like it could be something that is separate of the rest, like it could be almost an add-on basically, and then that could be implemented back into Blender. So I think it's something that could live next to the current implementation of meshes in Blender. So maybe not so, I mean, it's gonna be hard, of course, but it's not crazy because it can live in the same neighborhood, sort of big neighborhood. Well, wide neighbor. Well, yeah. I really need to go. It's 4 a.m. in this part of the world. It's already 8 a.m. in the Netherlands, in Europe. So you guys are waking up. This video is 40 minutes long, so it's gonna take me forever to upload. It's gonna be uploaded tomorrow. Sorry about that. Everything's gonna go back to normal. I'm gonna go back to high-speed internet. So spoiled. I was visiting the Blender website and it was so slow to load here. So I hope I can spend time in improvements. How about you? You have fast internet, or is it how's the average for you guys? It's speed. It's downloading the builders from blender.org, the 100 megabytes of Blender versions every day. Is it that an issue? Or not? It's interesting to see, because Blender is very small, but when I'm there, I just download it multiple times, don't worry. Or making websites, you pay attention to, of course, making it light, but it's not like the highest priority ever, especially when you don't have a lot of time. So, but now when I'm here, I suffered so much. We're so spoiled. All right, so the show is over. Let's get together for the next episode. It's 21st of December here, and it's Christmas coming. So if you're celebrating Christmas, Merry Christmas. If not, then happy holidays. And if you don't have happy holidays, you don't have holidays because you worked too much, then happy blending. Yes, that's something we can all do all day, every day, forever, right? Isn't it nice? Well, you know what's nice? The way we say goodbye always. So watch your headphones. Probably this is not always. People say you say headphones, but no, it's not that loud. So yes, that's the guy. All right. I so happy to be back. Sorry about being a bit late, but it's just so nice. Don't say anything about my haircut, by the way. I hate it so much. I can't wait to go back to the nice Turkish people living nearby the studio. Okay, off topic too much. Bye bye. Have a nice Christmas, everybody. Ciao.